Omoni was the only daughter in a family of 6 children. She was the jewel of her father's eye and the apple of her mother's heart. Her parents adored her, and her 5 brothers cherished her like she was a rare treasure. Being the only girl in the household, Omoni was showered with attention and love. But that love came with a downside. She was pampered to the point of being spoiled. Unlike her brothers, who were taught to be independent and responsible, Omoni was not allowed to do anything at home. If she wanted something, it was given to her. If something needed to be done, it was done for her. Cooking, cleaning, even making her bed. These were chores that Omoni never had to worry about. Her brothers did their own chores, and her parents hired house help to ensure Omoni's hands remained unblemished. As Omoni grew older, her parents began to notice her lack of basic domestic skills. But by then, it was too late to change her habits. She had grown into a beautiful young woman, but she was undeniably lazy. She had no idea how to cook, clean, or manage a household, and she didn't care. She had been raised to believe that her beauty and charm would be enough to carry her through life. One day, Omoni met Osas, a handsome and hard-working Edo man, who fell in love with her at first sight. But Omoni's lazy attitude was too obvious that Osas soon found out about it. However, when Osas found out that Omoni was pampered and wasn't very domesticated, he did not mind. He believed that love and patience would help her grow into the wife he needed. He was willing to help her learn and adjust to married life, and he was confident that she would eventually change for the better. Omoni and Osas got married in a lavish wedding. Her parents spared no expense in making sure that their only daughter had the wedding of her dreams. Osas too put in his all to make sure that the day was perfect. As they stood before the altar, promising to love and cherish each other for the rest of their life, Osas looked into Omoni's eyes and believed that they were embarking on a beautiful journey together. The first few months of their marriage were blissful. Osas, who was an excellent cook, took it upon himself to prepare their meals. He would make delicious soups and stew, always ensuring that there was something special for Omoni to enjoy. He even hired a cleaner who came regularly to tidy up the house so that Omoni wouldn't feel overwhelmed by household chores. Omoni, on her part, was grateful to have married such a wonderful and understanding man. She loved Osas deeply and appreciated all that he did for her. But despite her gratitude, she made no effort to change her lazy ways. Instead of trying to learn how to cook or take care of the house, she spent her days lazing around, scrolling through her phone and watching TV. Osas never complained, but deep down, he was beginning to feel frustrated as Omoni was making no effort. One morning, a few months into their marriage, Osas had to leave for work early. He had an important meeting and needed to be at the office by 6 a.m. As he got ready to leave, he asked Omoni for a small favor. "Darling, I made some black soup last night and it is in the pot. Please warm it up for me later so that I can have it for dinner when I come back." Omoni, who was half asleep, mumbled a response. "Okay, I'll do it." Osas smiled, although he was a bit skeptical. He knew Omoni's track record when it came to domestic tasks, but he was hopeful that she would at least manage to warm up the soup. After all, it was just a simple request. As soon as Osas left, Omoni drifted back to sleep and completely forgot about the soup. She spent the rest of the day in bed, lazily snacking on nuts and chips, and her phone never left her hand. She watched videos, chatted with friends, and indulged in her favorite pastime of doing nothing. It wasn't until 5 p.m., 1 hour before Osas was due to return home, that Omoni suddenly remembered the soup. She panicked as she realized that she had not even gotten out of bed, let alone warmed up the soup. She quickly jumped out of bed and rushed to the bedroom to freshen up, hoping to at least appear presentable when Osas arrived home. After her bath, she hurried into the kitchen and opened the pot where the soup was in. As soon as she lifted the cover, a foul odor filled the air. The soup had gone bad, spoiled from being left unwarmed for too long. Omoni wrinkled her nose in disgust, but she did not know what else to do. In a panic, she lit the cooker and began to warm the spoiled soup, hoping to mask the smell with heat. Osas walked through the door at exactly 6 p.m. He was tired but looked forward to a relaxing evening with his wife. Unfortunately, as he entered the house, he was hit by a sour smell that made him almost throw up. He knew immediately that something was wrong. "What is that smell?" Osas asked as he walked towards the kitchen. Omoni, who was standing by the cooker, looked up at him guiltily. "I am warming the soup like you asked," she said, trying to sound innocent. Out of shock, Osas rushed over to the pot and lifted the lid, shifting backwards at the stench that greeted him. The soup, his favorite black soup, was completely ruined. He had spent hours cooking it the night before, using the freshest ingredients and the perfect blend of spices. Now, it was nothing but a foul-smelling mess. "Omoni, what have you done?" Osas shouted. He was obviously angry and disappointed. "This soup is spoiled. Did you not check it before warming it up?" Omoni was shocked at his tone, and her eyes were wide with fear. She had never seen Osas this angry before. "I am sorry, Osas. I forgot to warm it earlier, and when I remembered, it was already like this. I thought maybe heating it would make it better." Osas could not believe what he was hearing. "Heating it? Heating spoiled food doesn't make it better, Omoni. It makes it worse. How could you be so careless? Do you know how much time and money I spent making the soup?" Tears started to pour down from Omoni's eyes as she realized the extent of her mistake. "I am very sorry, Osas. I did not mean to ruin it. I promise I'll make it up to you. I will cook another pot of black soup tomorrow, and it will even be better than this one." Osas looked at her ridiculously. "You cook it? Do you even know how to boil water, not to talk of making black soup, Omoni?" "Yes, I do," Omoni said. "I will go to the market tomorrow and buy all the ingredients. I will make it for you, I promise." Osas sighed. He knew Omoni had never cooked a day in her life, and the thought of her attempting to make black soup was almost laughable. But he did not want to argue with her any longer. He was too tired. "Fine, but don't bother yourself too much. I'll manage something else for dinner tonight." Omoni nodded, relieved that he was no longer angry. She decided that she was going to watch a few YouTube tutorials on how to make black soup in the morning. How hard could it possibly be? The next day, Omoni woke up determined to prove herself. She was going to make the best black soup Osas had ever tasted, and he would forget all about the ruined pot from the previous day. She got dressed and headed to the market feeling confident. At the market, she approached a woman selling herbs and vegetables. "Good morning, ma," Omoni greeted, flashing a bright smile. "I need ingredients for making black soup. Can you help me?" The woman looked at her curiously. "Of course. Do you know how to cook it?" "Yes, I do," Omoni replied, full of pride. "Just give me everything I need and I'll handle the rest." The woman nodded and began gathering the necessary ingredients: bitter leaf, uziza leaves, scent leaves, and the special black soup spice mix. She handed the items to Omoni, who paid for them and left the market, feeling pleased with herself. When Omoni got home, she decided to watch a YouTube video on how to make black soup, just to refresh her memory from the videos she watched earlier. She found a few videos, but as she scrolled through her recommendations on YouTube, she spotted a live stream from her favorite lifestyle blogger. Without thinking twice, she clicked on the video and was soon engrossed in watching the vlogger talk about her latest shopping haul and skincare routine. Hours passed and Omoni completely forgot about the soup. It was not until late afternoon that she realized the time and was frantic. She hurried to the kitchen, brought out a pot and dumped all the ingredients into the pot and then started to cook. As Omoni hastily threw the ingredients into the pot, she tried to recall what she had seen in the black soup tutorials, but her memory was unclear, clouded by the hours she had spent watching her favorite vlogger's live stream. She stirred the pot absent-mindedly, adding water, seasoning, and the black soup spices she had bought at the market. She then brought out the bitter leaf, scent leaf, and uziza leaves, and without even trying to wash any of them, she threw them all into the pot and covered the pot. Minutes later, the aroma of the soup filled the kitchen, but it wasn't the rich native scents that Osas loved. Instead, the bitter smell of the soup leaves dominated the air, making Omoni's nose wrinkle. At that instant, she knew something wasn't right, but she couldn't quite figure out what it was. She took a spoonful of the soup and tasted it, only to find it unbearably bitter. She spat out the taste. Oh no, this can't be right, Omoni muttered to herself. Her heart started to pound. She knew Osas would not be pleased if the soup was this bitter. But what could she do to fix it? She was running out of time and Osas would be home soon. In a moment of desperation, Omoni flung open the refrigerator, hoping to find something, anything that could salvage the soup. Her eyes landed on a bottle of Pepsi and a wild idea popped into her head. Pepsi was sweet and black too, right? So maybe it could balance out the bitterness of the soup. Without giving it much thought, Omoni grabbed the bottle and poured its contents into the pot, watching as the dark soda mixed with the soup. She stirred it in and tasted the soup again. The bitterness had been replaced with an overwhelming sweetness that left an after-bitter acidic taste in your tongue. It wasn't exactly the flavor she had been aiming for, but at least it wasn't outrightly bitter anymore. Satisfied with her quick fix, she turned off the cooker. By the time Osas walked through the door that evening, Omoni was ready and waiting with a beaming smile. She had set the table and placed the bowl of soup in the center, proud of her efforts. "Welcome home, Oni," she greeted him cheerfully. "I made you something special." Osas smiled at his wife, happy to see her in such good spirits. "Thank you, darling. I'm looking forward to it." He washed his hands and sat down at the table, eager to taste the soup she had prepared. Omoni served him a generous portion of the soup, along with a mold of fufu she had bought at the market. She watched anxiously as Osas took his first bite, hoping for a positive reaction. But the moment the soup touched Osas' tongue, his face twisted in disgust. He immediately spat it out and his eyes widened with shock. "What is this? What did you put in this soup?" Omoni's heart sank. "What do you mean? It is black soup like you wanted," she replied defensively, trying to sound confident. "This is not black soup, Omoni. I don't even know what this is." Osas stood up, pushing the bowl away from him. "It is too bitter sweet, yet tastes like acidic. Did you put sugar and lemon in it?" Omoni shook her head in fear. "No, I didn't put sugar. I I only added some Pepsi because the soup was too bitter. I thought it would help. Pepsi? Osa stared at her in disbelief. You put Pepsi in black soup? Have you lost your mind on money? This is poison. How could you do this? The harshness of his words stung Omoni and she felt unappreciated. She had tried her best, hadn't she? She had spent the whole day cooking for him and this was the thanks she got. Why are you being so ungrateful, Osas? She snapped. I went to the market, bought all the ingredients and spent hours cooking the soup for you. And now you're yelling at me because it is not perfect. Osas could not believe what he was hearing. Ungrateful, Omoni, I have been nothing but patient with you. I have cooked, cleaned, and taken care of everything in this house because you don't want to lift a finger. I have begged you to learn how to cook, to at least try, but you have not made any efforts. And now you expect me to eat this abomination and be grateful? Omoni was too hurt and angry to respond. She stormed out of the dining room, leaving Osas standing there, shaking his head in frustration. The tension between Omoni and Osas lingered for days after the soup incident. Omoni sulked in silence, while Osas kept his distance, too disappointed to even look at her. The atmosphere in their once happy home had turned cold, and neither of them was ready for reconciliation. Then, one evening, Osas came back home with a surprise. He walked into the house with a beautiful young woman by his side. Omoni, who was sitting in the living room, looked up in confusion. Omoni, this is Ivie, Osas said coldly. She's going to be our new cook. Omoni's heart skipped a beat as she stared at the young lady. Ivie was tall, with smooth skin and an elegant composure. She looked like she had just stepped out of a magazine, and Omoni felt insecure. A new cook? Omoni asked. Why do we need a new cook? Because I am tired of eating poorly cooked food outside or having to cook myself after a long day at work. Ivie will be staying here with us and taking care of the meals from now on. Omoni felt a lump form in her throat. She had always known she wasn't the best cook, but to have her husband hire another woman to do something she should have been doing was humiliating. However, instead of expressing her hurts, she forced a smile and nodded. Fine, if that's what you want. Over the next few weeks, Ivie took over the kitchen, and it did not take long for Osas to start praising her culinary skills. Every night, he would come home to a delicious meal, cooked to perfection. He would shower Ivie with compliments. Osas even took it far by buying gifts for Ivie each time she cooks and using beautiful words to praise her in Omoni's presence. Omoni, who had been acting unbothered before, could no longer bear it. She knew that if she did not take time, she might eventually lose her husband to Ivie because of food. No. Omoni then decided to learn how to cook. She started watching cooking tutorials online, taking notes and practicing in the kitchen when Ivie was not there. At first, her attempts were clumsy and she burnt more than a few dishes. But she was persistent. She was driven by the desire to win back Osas' admiration and respect. After practicing for weeks, Omoni finally decided to try out her new skill. That evening, when Ivie was about to make dinner, Omoni came to meet her. Ivie, don't worry, I'll cook for my husband. Ivie was shocked because she knew that Omoni could not cook. She couldn't risk it. Osas would be really angry if he comes back home to a bad meal. Ma, please, let me cook this. Your husband won't be happy if I don't do well in my job. But Omoni insisted. I understand your concerns, Ivie, but I have been learning and practicing. Don't worry. I won't let you take the blame if it doesn't come out well. He's my husband. I will accept the responsibility of anything. Evie was still skeptical, but she couldn't stop Omoni from cooking in her own kitchen. So she stepped back and watched as Omoni cooked. Omoni was anxious but prayed that the meal comes out well. When Osas returned home, Omoni went into the room and told Evie to dish out the food for him, but to call her if anything goes wrong. Evie agreed and served the food. As Osas took the first bite, he felt like the food was different from the usual taste he knew. He took the second bite, the third, and before he realized himself, he had finished the food. He then called Evie and started to praise her. "You outdid yourself this time around, Evie. Wow! This dish is the best you have made so far. Your hands are magical and naturally sweetening. You deserve a gift for this meal, a special gift." Evie was surprised. She did not expect the meal to be so good, but since it came out fantastic, she would not take the glory. "Thank you, sir, but I did not make the meal. Your wife cooked it." Osas looked at Evie as if she was a clown. "Did Omoni threaten you? Because that is the only reason you will want to tell me that Omoni made this food. I know the woman I married, so don't worry yourself." Evie was even more surprised. "I'm serious, sir. Your wife made this. She wanted to surprise you and asked me to take a break while she cooks for you. She did everything by herself." Osas looked at Evie curiously. He knew she had to be serious. She wouldn't be joking with him, but he still could not believe that Omoni cooked this meal. "Who taught her? Have you been teaching her?" Evie shook her head. "No, sir, but I think she has been learning on her own." Osas was still in shock, but he told Evie to clear the table. Omoni was in the bedroom, dying of suspense. She had waited to hear Osas shouting, but she did not hear anything. Suddenly, she heard the door open and Osas walked in, looking at her with a shocking face. "Omoni, did you make that food?" Omoni's heart skipped a beat. I just wanted to. I am sorry." Osas interrupted her. "No, I want to know if you made the meal because it was perfect and unique. Did you make it?" Omoni was shocked. "The food was good." "Yes, I made it. I just wanted to try out my ability." Osas was surprised. "Are you serious? Since when have you been learning?" Omoni was more relaxed now, and she explained to Osas how she had been learning diligently as she wanted to be able to make delicious meals for him. Osas nodded his head, pleased. "That is good, but I still don't believe you totally until I see you with my own eyes. Tomorrow, I want to watch you cook. Deal?" Omoni smiled. "Deal." The next day, Osas returned home early and sat in the kitchen watching Omoni cook. She decided to cook his favorite Edo soup, black soup. After cooking, Omoni served him a bowl of the soup, the same dish that had been the source of their recent troubles, and she watched anxiously as Osas took a spoonful and tasted it. His eyes widened in surprise. The soup was rich and flavorful and had the perfect blend of spices and ingredients. "This is amazing," Osas exclaimed. "Omoni, this is the best black soup I have ever had." Omoni's heart melted at his praise. "Really? I'm so glad you like it." That night, Osas and Omoni shared a peaceful dinner filled with laughter and joy. Osas was proud of his wife, and Omoni was thrilled to have finally achieved something she had always struggled with. The following day, Osas went to speak with Evie, who was preparing a meal in the kitchen. "Evie, I want to thank you for all the help you have given us. Your cooking has been wonderful, but I think it is time for you to move on. My wife is making great progress, and I believe she is ready to take over the kitchen. We have achieved our aim." Evie smiled graciously. "I am glad to hear that. It has been a pleasure working here, and I am happy to have helped." With Evie gone, Omoni continued to improve her cooking skills and become more responsible around the home. She embraced the challenges of managing the kitchen and took pride in preparing meals for Osas. Their relationship grew stronger as they began to understand each other better, and their home was filled with laughter and love once again. Osas noticed the change in Omoni and appreciated her efforts. He made it a point of duty to express his gratitude regularly, praising her cooking and showering her with gifts. Their life together became more heavenly as they worked together to build a happy home. Thank you for watching this story. Kindly share your thoughts about this story in the comment section. Give this story a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Thank you and remain blessed.